Well, hello, this is Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva, and this is Up or Out Business Radio with an Edge. And today's guest, I'm just going to hold that for a bit of a secret. He is a returning guest. He was on, I don't know how many, several months ago, but it was such a positive response that we got from our listeners. And we're going to be talking about another topic today that he is so adamant about, and he really looks at it differently, and that's franchising. So we're going to make it a little bit sexy and interesting. So you're going to want to listen because he has some really valuable information on franchising. So here's our quote of today. And of course, when I went out looking at franchising, of course, it came up to McDonald's because, and as I've shared with you before, my grandfather, Merv McIntyre, was the designer, the creator of the McDonald's Golden Arches. So I am giving you a quote today from Charlie Bell, who is the former McDonald's CEO, which is the biggest threat to McDonald's lies within, and that is us as a company becoming complacent. I mean, there are a lot of companies that get fat, dumb, and happy and take their eye off the ball and forget about serving their customers. And Charlie Bell, McDonald's, is a perfect example of franchising and also serving their customers. So it's time to turn up the volume because it is time for Up or Out with Connie. And always, I want you to stay tuned to the end of the show because I don't want you to miss any of the exciting giveaways, but also I have some really, really interesting information about the show and some changes and updates that I want to share with you. So here's today's challenge question for you. If you could do anything to make a change in the world, what would that be? Let's think about that for a minute. We're going to take a really quick sponsor break, and we'll be right back with our guest. And we're back, and you're listening to Up or Out with Connie, and it is now my pleasure to introduce the man from Down Under, internationally recognized. He turns businesses around from bankruptcy to millions. And today he helps companies improve their performance. Returning to the hot seat on Up or Out with Connie is Evan Hackel. Hey, Evan, how are you?
I am terrific, Connie. Great to be back.
I'm so glad that you are back here. As I was talking and sharing before, it was my grandfather who designed the original McDonald's Golden Arches many, many years ago. And as you and I were talking, probably wished he would have taken some of stock in the company rather than getting paid at that time. But really exciting. So I know you had some really provocative thoughts about franchising and, what people believe that buying a franchise is, a guarantee of success, but you're saying that's really nothing further from the truth. So share a little bit more about franchising.
Let me start with, I love franchising.
Okay.
And I hate franchising. A lot of franchises are absolutely fabulous and people can do incredibly well. I have been involved in franchising almost my entire career. I've started 3 franchise businesses. I turned around a $700 million system and it was in bankruptcy to $2 billion. What I have found is a lot of franchisors are bad franchisors.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's not that the model is a bad model. It's that the people that are running the model don't get what their role is and what they need to do. And people need to be very careful. I think there's an assumption. In part, I'll blame McDonald's because McDonald's was so successful and so many of the earlier franchise concepts were so successful that people kind of figure, well, it's like McDonald's. If I do this, I'm going to be successful.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But a lot of franchisors, they don't get the business model. And, you talked about complacency, as a company,
right,
doing the right things for the customers and changing the model. A lot of franchise systems can't make changes or do things because their franchisees are so upset with them that they become stuck. So when you think about
upset with the process,
upset with the franchisor, upset with the process, lack of trust. And so let me, I guess, do 2 things if I could.
So it's like any business model. I mean, when you have employees and employer, you still need to build that trust within. So they're behaving basically the way you want them to continue and hold that brand.
Well, there's a difference between holding that brand
Okay.
and how they work with their franchisees.
Okay.
So what I do is let me take a few moments and talk about the problems. And then let me talk about the people who are interested in franchising, what they can do to make sure that they're really buying the right franchise.
Okay.
And I have different things to look at than what most people will tell you. So a lot of the franchises that are starting up are very actually small businesses. So when you look at a franchisor with, let's say, less than 100 units,
Right.
the franchisor is not necessarily well capitalized. In fact, a lot of times they might even have negative net worth. And they don't have the financial resources, even if they wanted to provide the right amount of support.
Okay.
And that when you sit back and you look at a McDonald's, the average McDonald's does, let's say, around $3 million. I'm not sure the number, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. Works on, let's say, around a 5% royalty.
Okay.
That means McDonald's has $150,000 a year per franchisee to provide support.
Okay.
So they can send someone every month to the location to help mentor, help coach that franchisee. Now take a franchise system where the average location does, let's say, $150,000 a year.
Okay.
And let's say they have a 5% royalty.
Right.
Now you're looking at a franchisor that has less than $10,000 a year to support the franchisee. So they can't afford to send someone to visit them. They can't afford to build the training programs. They can't afford to give the same kind of support.
So the franchisor only helps based on you paying for it. It's not.
Well,
I mean, doesn't it come from the original, I just invested in the brand, I'm going to open a McDonald's store? I mean, so you're saying that there's not a clear line to say this is how much training we're going to be giving you?
Well, every franchise agreement talks about the franchisor providing training.
Okay.
But the question is, what is training? How much training is there?
Okay.
So my company, Total Training, we're the largest provider of training in the franchise space. We provide e-learning. We do it for lots and lots of major brands. But the fact is 78% of all franchise brands don't have e-learning available for their franchise systems. And a lot of them do the training when you launch.
Right.
And sort of after that, there's not that much training. There's not that much support. A lot of times the business models aren't proven. Okay. And the franchisee buys in, and then they start operating the business, and they really can't make that much money running the business.
Okay. Because I looked at franchises after Girl Scouts, and I was looking at something to invest, and I looked at a number of different ones, but just something was just not connecting for me that was going to be the right thing to do.
Well, there are, this is the difficulty in the conversation. There are some very good franchisors. There's some small, very good franchisors, but a lot of them are undercapitalized, don't offer enough services. And, in order to sell franchises, they underestimate the amount of capital that you need to start up. So someone invests in the business, and then all of a sudden they can't afford inventory because they didn't have enough capital.
Right.
And they get into this spiral.
Okay.
People get in trouble. They don't have someone they can send out to you to help you get along.
Right.
And then a lot of franchisors tend to develop this sort of, paternal, we know better than you, just listen to us attitude. And as you know, I'm all about engagement.
Right.
And I think the power of great franchising is when franchisees are listened to by the franchisor.
And that's where that trust comes in.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because when people feel heard, they feel trusted. At McDonald's, the Egg McMuffin and the concept of breakfast was an idea of a franchisee.
Okay.
So
how does somebody
billions?
And that's what they did. So how does somebody find a good one? How does somebody really find a good franchise that they can invest in?
Okay. There are a couple things you've got to first ask yourself. Are you buying a business where your goal is to maximize your profits, or are you buying a business because it's something you will enjoy doing? Okay. And these are very important questions to ask, because there are a lot of franchise systems that allow you to do something you really enjoy,
right? Where
you're not sitting there managing a massive business and crunching dollars.
Okay.
And that maybe you won't make as much, but life fulfillment is worth the trade-off.
Right.
And then there are some people that are just simply saying, I just want the franchise system I can make the most money.
Okay.
So you got to first kind of decide which of those two places you are. And there's nothing wrong with buying a franchise that matches your lifestyle and what you want to do and things like that.
But it's still a business, and you still have to put a lot of hard sweat into making this business work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then you start, have to have employees, or except you have to have inventory. And again, the franchisors have standards that you have to meet as well. So, yeah. So,
but a lot of franchisors have standards, but they don't enforce them at all.
Oh, really? So, and again, from the research of what I was looking at, it looked like that there was an enforcement of. I was looking at a UPS store. I mean, I was probably 10 layers deep into really making it happen, and I was going to have employees, and then I pulled back from it. But it was employees, it was having inventory, and again, it's running a business.
Yeah. Now, UPS is likely to appropriately enforce the rules. And by the way, franchise compliance is important because everyone sits back and says, well, they're loose. They don't really enforce franchise rules. That's good for me. But it's not good for you because other franchisees start doing things that are really bad.
No, it is important. It's important for the brand of the franchisor. I mean, that's why they're doing it. And I was so surprised on how many franchises are out there.
Oh my goodness, it's incredible.
I was in shock. Exercise, Beachbody, they're a franchise. I was like, are you kidding? Like there was so many, I couldn't believe how many franchises are out there.
Oh, it's amazing. And a lot of them, there's some that are just party oriented. And it's incredible the variety that you can get. So here are the things that you need to look at and understand.
Okay.
In a franchise discovery doc, there's a thing called an item 19. This is a financial representation that is made by the franchisor. And in this document, they have to have legitimate proof to back up the information.
Okay.
Half the franchisors don't give you any information at all. And they'll tell you, if you're a prospect, look, our lawyers say we shouldn't do it because then you can hold us liable for the information and it's making a promise and they tell us just to be safe and not do it. But trust us, we're doing well. Talk to some of the franchisees. Avoid them. Okay. If they're not making a financial representation, avoid them.
Yes.
You legally can make a financial representation and there's no risk to them as long as they're being honest. So if someone doesn't have a financial representation, that there's a problem. The problem is the franchisees are underperforming. Okay. So that's item 19. That's important. Item 20 in the franchise discovery doc tells you how many go out of business every year.
Yeah, I
this
remember.
Is a really important statistic because if a lot of people are going out of business every year, and this is the interesting part, it doesn't necessarily tell you the franchise is a bad franchise. It tells you the franchise is bad at selecting franchisees.
Okay.
So you want a franchise that the requirement to join isn't your ability to write a check.
So although you're working with a franchise or a potential franchise that really is taking you through the ringer, that's okay because
you want to be taken through.
You want them to select good franchisees.
That's right.
For that organization.
And one of the most important things a franchisor should do is a personality profile. So there is software, not software, but it is software, but there are psychologically validated tests that a franchisee can take to see if they have the right personality to be successful in that franchise business.
Okay.
And different franchise businesses require different personalities.
Right. So it depends on what that business is.
Right. So you as a franchisee should be delighted to take a test like this because it's going to ensure your likelihood of being successful.
Okay.
It's also going to ensure that the other people in the system are also likely to be successful.
Right. Because if they're wearing that same brand, they're also representing you as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I even know for UPS, I actually went to visit a couple of different stores to meet the owners, and I didn't tell them why. I just wanted to see, well, for that, I wanted to see their personality. I wanted to see how they were managing their store, and are they going to be a competition? But I didn't want a competition. I want someone that was going to be able, that I was going to be able to work with.
Yeah.
So that was one thing.
There's a statistic that I think is the number one determinant of whether or not a franchisee system is going to be successful in the future.
Okay.
No one ever thinks of the statistic.
All right.
It's what percentage of the franchisees go to the annual meeting?
Ooh, okay. Tell me why that's important.
I'll tell you why. As a franchisor, the number one best chance you have to communicate with your franchisees at the annual meeting. Everybody that doesn't come is a huge suck on the system in terms of time to educate them on what they missed at this meeting. So when a franchise system has, let's say, under 60% attendance,
right,
they're spending all their time just trying to get people to listen to them. So they can't make those changes. You talk about McDonald's and complacency.
Right.
They can know what to do, but if people aren't listening, they can't do it. So if people don't go to the convention, here are the reasons they don't go. One, they can't afford to go.
Right.
That's a sign that they're not making any money.
Right.
Two, they don't believe they're getting good information from going. Right. Or three, they just don't care.
Right.
And those are all very, very bad signs.
It's all negativity. So so you need to come to the party to prove that you're all in.
Yeah. And, a good franchise system should be required. There should be a penalty for not going. And the higher the percentage, in the franchise businesses that I've run, convention attendance is always 90% or higher.
Okay.
And that allows us as an organization to do more. And it makes a significant difference in the effectiveness of the business. Mm-hmm. Other things that you can do to help, there are survey companies. Franchise Business Review is probably the biggest. There's FranServe. There's some others where they survey the franchisees. You should look to see what those surveys say. If they don't do a survey of their franchisees and what their franchisees think,
right,
there's a reason. And I can tell you what that reason is. They're afraid of what the survey is going to say.
I was going to say, I could probably guess. Yeah, they're afraid. They don't want to hear back. They don't want any negative feedback. But again, they're a business, and you want to hear what your people are saying, because then that's how you can, I don't want to say navigate the system, but that's how you can make those changes so you can serve people better and you can have a better franchise.
That's exactly right. It's all about listening. Really good franchise systems do surveys of their franchisees. They have franchise advisory councils. You should find out if they have them. When I work with my clients, because I work with a lot of franchise clients,
right.
By the way, if they're a client of mine, I can assure you they're good, because I don't work with people that are unethical in any way. But we do the following things that are really important. One is we create many franchise councils. So they'll have a marketing council. They'll have an operations council. If appropriate, they'll have a product council. I like to set up regional networking groups where the franchisees get together regionally so that they're communicating at a higher level. They'll do, in addition to the normal emails and discussion groups and web things, they'll do a monthly call with the entire system to keep everyone on top of what they're doing.
Okay.
Because communication is really important. You as a franchisee will learn as much from your fellow franchisees as your franchisor.
And that's always the case. I mean, when you're in business, you want to create alignments with others. I mean, they may be doing something similar, but you want to create those alignment. You want to create those synergies. So that's really, really great advice, Evan. Well, we need to take a break here because we have to recognize our sponsor, because of course they're the ones paying the bills. So hang in there just a few minutes. And when we come back, we're going to be putting you in the hot seat. I don't think we had that last time you were here.
I don't think so either.
All right. So hang in there. We'll be right back. And we're back, and you're listening to Up Right with Connie, and joining us today is Evan Hackel. And Evan, tell our listeners how they can find you, learn more about you. Maybe they'd be interested in franchising, and they can get some more secret sauce tips from you.
Okay. I have two companies. One is Tortal Training. The website is Tortal. Think of the word portal, but T for training, so a training portal called Tortal. It's tortal.net. And then I have a consulting company called Engage Consulting. It's Engage with an I for involvement, so it's ingage.net. I have tons of information on both of my sites. Mm-hmm. If you're looking to buy a franchise, I'm really not the right person to talk to.
He'll talk you out of it. It sounds like.
If you're a well, I might. Believe me, I was. This is true. I was just visiting my niece who bought a franchise. She had asked me my opinion of the franchisor, and I said I looked it up. They have negative net worth. The economics of the system is bad. I don't recommend it. You know what she did is she bought it anyhow. And then I just spoke to her.
Listen to Uncle Evan.
Yeah, and I spoke to her, and and she's very unhappy. But I would say this: their Franchise Business Review, which is franchisebusinessreview.com. Okay. They're the largest surveyor. They have tons of information on franchising. If you're interested in franchising, there are a lot of websites. There are a lot of companies out there that provide services to help you not only choose a good franchise based on sharing information, but they will actually coach you. They'll do personality profiles and things of that nature. And it's killing me because the one I'm thinking of, I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Certainly the International Franchise Association, which is franchise.org, has lots of great information. Okay. But contact me if you have a business that you run, good relationships with your customers. Right. Because I work a lot with manufacturers, franchisors, co-ops, and Tortal Training. If you have training needs, be delighted to work and talk with anyone. And by the way, I do encourage people to buy franchises. I just encourage them to ask the right questions and make sure they're buying the right franchise.
Buy the right franchise. Got it. Well, if you're looking for a training for engagement, Evan Hackel is the guy for you. So Engage, ingage.net, or Tortal, Tortal. Was that Tortal.com?
Tortal.net. I'd be happy to share my personal phone number, which is 781-820-7609. Or
1-800-HOT-BABE. How's that?
That would be a great number. That one too? That wouldn't work for me as well as you. I also have a good book. Okay. Engaging Leadership. You can get on Amazon. It's Engaging with an I for involvement. So Engaging Leadership on Amazon. It's a great book about any business, any size, how you can create an engaging culture, which is, of course, what we talked about last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we need. You need to have that engaging culture so people will want to do more for you. Well, Evan, we have just a few minutes left, and I want to get you in the hot seat. So we've learned a lot about your business. Now we want to share a little bit more about you, the guy. So if you are ready, again, it's 10 questions, and we're just going to zip right through them. And if you're ready, we'll get started.
I'm ready.
All right. Evan, what advice would you give to your younger self?
The advice I would give to my younger self would be to have had more patience looking for what I wanted to do in life and not have rushed as much into going to work for my father. If I'd gone someplace else and then come back, I would have been better off. Oh,
okay. Good advice. Good advice. Did you know what you wanted to do right from the start?
I wanted to work for my father so bad you could not possibly imagine.
What was that?
We had a family business in Vermont, and it was electrical supplies. It was appliances, consumer electronics, and cabinets. And that's where we started my first franchise, which was videotape rentals. And I loved working for my father. And it was a great, great learning experience and bonding experience. But I just think that, I would have been better if I had gone and worked for someone else and then come back. Okay. I just think that would have been a better thing for me personally.
Well, that is advice I do give to family-owned businesses that I work with, especially when they're grooming family members to come into the business, is have them go work someplace else first. I actually have 5, and 2 of the 5 want to come into my business, but I'm like, give it another year. You're continue working where you're at, and then we'll talk about it. So all business leaders know, they pretty much know right from the start where they want to go. Like you said, you want to work with your dad, but we also have failures along the way and we have successes. So what was one of those memorable failures that you had? And then follow up with that on a success that you've had along the way as well.
Well, I have a statement, which is, I said, I always hope my biggest failure is yet to come, because
Okay.
I think that if you don't fail, you're not trying.
That's right.
We started a franchise of a mobile floor covering business to sell to floor covering stores to expand their reach. And it was a failure because the customer in the home said, "Hey, I want to come into the store."
Right.
And that was something in home sales, you got to close in the home. So it didn't, we rolled it out, we tested it, it failed before a major launch. But I failed in a lot of places. And actually the number one reason I fail when I fail is I think too far in the future. So I tend to be ahead of the curve in terms of where the market's going. So I think of ideas that the market's not quite ready for.
Okay.
To fail. And they're always, we'll call them micro failures, that things that you do in your own business.
Are they really failures though? Going back to your quote of, I have yet to fail.
No, I said, I hope my biggest failure is yet to come.
Yeah, your biggest failure is yet to come. But I think that still goes back to, if you don't try, how do you know that you're going to fail?
But my biggest success is, taking over a bankrupt franchise system where the judge reduced everyone's agreement to 1 year.
Okay.
They could all leave in a year. They had to change their name, but they could stay in the floor covering business.
Okay.
And there were 202 franchisees. I only lost 2 after a year. And in 4 years, we went from $700 million to $2 billion in system-wide sales.
Nice.
We did not double our locations. So it meant the same store sales had grown dramatically over that time.
Right.
And we had a hyper engaged system that was just so exciting and so much fun to participate in. And this concept that's in my book, and this concept that really has changed my life, was from this whole idea of engagement, where I sat back and said, if I don't get all these people on board, they're going to leave me. And the only way that they're going to stay is if they feel a part of the solution.
Yeah.
So we did town hall meetings all over the place. We got all kinds of groups, regional things. Mm-hmm. We did tons of listening. We built a strategic and tactical plan. We got their input, and we created an environment where everyone felt a sense of responsibility. And the fact that they were so negative at the beginning, because, when a franchise goes bankrupt, when the franchisor goes bankrupt, they stop providing services for a long time, and they have a bad business model. And this one had 400 company-owned stores that closed, many of them which were close to franchisees.
Okay.
So in some areas, the brand was really weak.
Right.
So it was a huge accomplishment for me.
It was a huge win. A huge win.
But I had a great staff. I had great franchisees. So, I couldn't have done it certainly on my own, but it really was transformative for me. And then I took those ideas into other businesses, and, it's just made a huge difference.
Made a huge difference. Well, I'm just going to jump ahead because we're running short on time. So my final question to you would be that if you knew then what you know now, and I think you talked a little bit about that, what words of wisdom do you have to offer entrepreneurs, executives that are pursuing their path to success?
I think the most important things that any entrepreneur can have is a defined, thought out vision of where they want to go, and to share it with everyone. And it is so important that every customer and every employee, everybody is on the same page. Because if you're not on the same page, you're all going in different places. Mm-hmm. And it is so important to know where you're going, because when you know where you're going to go, you're going to get there a lot faster than when you're zigging and zagging all over the place.
You got it. Excellent advice. Well, Evan, I want to thank you for being here with us today, because you've been amazing, and you are definitely passionate about buying the right franchise.
Exactly.
Without a doubt. So tell our listeners one more time your website address, both your website addresses, so they know how to find you.
It is Tortal, TORTAL.net, Engage, INGAGE.net, and my number is 781-820-7609, and my book is Engaging Leadership with an I. Can be found on any e-bookstore.
Well, thank you, Evan, for being here. Authors, do you do any speaking? I know you're right.
Oh yeah, I do. In fact, just yesterday
speaking as well, right? Yeah.
I did a keynote speech, and I love speaking.
Well, I mean, kudos to you. I mean, for everything that you've done and all of your successes. And again, thank you for being here today. And I mean, just to everyone out there, I mean, well, for our time goes by so quickly. And I want to thank you for being part of our community, and keep sending in your success stories and your questions to ask Connie at upperout.com, because we want to share your stories, and we want to be able to help others be motivated to take action. Well, I had shared at the beginning that I had some really great announcement. At least it's great for Upper Out and for me, because we have expanded our reach. In addition, of course, to iTunes and being heard around the globe, we are heard also, I want to remind you, on our flagship network, Conscious Business Network, and also on the C-Suite Radio Network, of which I am proud that I am the only female headliner on both of these networks. And it's all because of you, my listeners. And I want to thank you for sending in your feedback and subscribing to my iTunes. Now, I want you to send me your feedback, and I want you to send me your questions, because I have some really amazing gifts that I'm going to be sending back out to you. But you need to send in those questions to askconnie@upperout.com. And also, I was recently interviewed by the C-Suite Bestseller Book Network, and you could see me now in airports, elevators, upscale hotels, all on those monitors in their in their in their areas. And I am going to be on there, and you're going to see my interview on there as well for my bestseller book too. So when you see it, give me a shout out. I want to hear from you. I want to know that it's being seen. And again, you're going to get some of those fabulous gifts. So be sure to subscribe with us. Stay in touch with us on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, because you don't want to miss any of the good stuff. It's been great being here with you today. And I want you to ask yourself, if you could do something different to get a different result, what would you be doing right now? This is Connie, your unstoppable diva, and you're listening to Upper Out with Connie. And until next time, be bold, be connected, and be unstoppable together.